Alright, today we are working on a Yerf Dog Go Kart. It actually has problems with the rear end. If you come on over here, I'll show you what's going on. Basically, the chain has skipped and jumped, and the main reason why this has occurred is because the framework right here, if you can take a look right here, has bent. And when the reason why that happened is the brake is actually attached right here, and when the brakes were put on, it actually torqued the whole system like this, cranked it this way, and it bent the tubes on the frame. So what we have to do here, and the side effect to that is that it caused the gear, the main sprocket, to go up towards the engine and make the chain be loose, and it constantly pops off. So we have to do a major rework on the rear end here. What we're going to do is take the whole back end off the go-kart here. We're going to dismantle, probably just take the engine off so we can work on it. We're going to put a metal framework here, which is we're going to try to straighten it if we can. And then we're going to put a metal framework here to make this back end stronger, so when you step on the brakes it doesn't just fall apart. So the main thing that we're going to do right now is we're going to take the engine off. Once we have the engine off, we'll start looking at the drivetrain system and see how much work we have to do to dismantle the whole rear end. Okay, one of the things about trying to just remove this is that the cables are going to hold everything back. And it's not going to be as easy as just pulling it off. So you got to be aware of that. Put it somewhere where you can put the engine without, ripping. Okay. All right. So now we have access to the rear end. I'm going to pull this jack shaft system off. And then the reason why I'm doing this is because the chain is all jammed up in the between the sprocket and the clutch, and it's really hard on the chain. Right now we can't get it apart, but now that I got this off, jack shaft system off, I can actually dismantle it better. You can see that it twisted the whole framework. That has to be straightened out. We're going to twist it back this way, and that will bring it down, bring that sprocket down so we have better location. Then we're going to hit the bearing support this way, and it'll pull the sprocket over where it needs to be. Okay, we got an impact socket. We had to buy a special impact socket, but basically what we do is we take off the impact, and then we can take off the wheel. We'll do it on both sides. And the wheels will just slide off, and there's probably some rust in there, so that's going to take a little bit of doing. But once we get them off, then we'll be able to access the brakes and stuff. Okay, we've knocked it loose with some consistent hammering. We'll knock it off. Sometimes be a pain. But there it is. Just for good measure, we're going to coat the end of the shaft and the inside of the rim with some, I have liquid wrench here. So our next focus is the actual brake area here. We're going to dismantle the brakes. I got to pull off this, okay, so I got an E-ring tool. It's a special one that I purchased a long time ago. It basically is a special kind of tool that you open, and when you push on it, it opens up. So we'll put it on the E-ring like this, and you push and pull it off. So I'll get a close-up on that. On the tool, you push on the tool and it expands it so it comes off the shaft Then you just pull the part off and put it in a bin. So the next thing we're going after is this brake drum. We're going to spray it down, not the brake surfaces, but at least the hub area, so it comes off easier. Okay, we ran into some pretty dark snafus here, and what we're ending up having to do is I took the bearing bolts off of this. I can't get this to loosen up, so we're going to have to pull the whole shaft early, and I need to get this other wheel off, and we're having issues. So what you can do is take a large pipe, put a piece of wood down inside there to shield the wheel from getting chipped, and then start striking at it with something a little bit bigger. Alright, upon further examination, we discovered that this whole piece is actually cracked underneath here. It's hard to see, but you would have to take the camera and look under there, and it's actually cracked right here. The whole pipe's busted. So we're going to probably end up putting a piece that comes along the side here, a piece of square pipe that we'll add along the side to give it more strength. Meantime, we need to get this bent back to the proper orientation and then put it back together. Alright, what we're getting ready to do is grind the paint off the frame, because as we've shown, this whole area, this part's broken basically off. So we're going to weld this pipe on the back side. It's going to be welded on the side here, gently on here and on here, and it will provide us some structure. We may even add a piece of angle to tie all this in so that we have a nice strong back section. Get on. Okay, so we'll kind of cut it like that. Okay. All right, when we get back, we'll have ground out the paint where we're going to weld, and then we're going to tie this piece in gently. Okay, we just welded a piece on there, a piece of square tubing. However, we're also going to put a piece of angle iron in here to enhance the strength more, because this is completely broken off in here. We want it to tie into this pipe as best we can, so that'll be our next step. All right, what we have is the part that we welded on. Keep in mind, this part and this part are not bound together. So we have added these extra sections here to try to help beef up the structure, so when the brakes are put on, it's not going to twist this whole back end apart again. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to add a little bit more weld right here to beef up that back structure, because all it's holding is this little bit, and that's not going to be enough. So I'll apply a little bit more weld right here, and we should be done adding our patch. Then we're going to paint it and weld it up. Paint it and put it back together. Okay, we're putting this back together, and one of the biggest problems we have, Jake, when you push on it real hard, is that I could never get this brake bell off, so we have to try to get this bolts through somehow, and playing a few games to get it together. One of the games I'm going to play, I believe, is we're going to try feeding these through this way, because there's, I don't know if that's going to work though. No. So when it came apart, it was like that. I could barely get a wrench in there, so that's some of the grief you have to run against. I could never get this bell off, and we've already been pounding the snot out of this thing, and we're just going to end up damaging stuff if we keep driving this hard. So we're doing the impossible. We're putting this together where it's not supposed to go together. Okay, what we're running into is we can't actually hold on to this nut. So what we're going to do is super glue it to my wrench. Super glue will not make it stay. It'll make it stick, but it will not stay permanently, okay? But it will do the job for what we want to do now. Okay, and I can enter it in here like that, but I was having trouble because it kept falling off. All right. The trouble I'm going to run into is that this is a carriage bolt, so I'll get a few turns out of it. That's all I need to get it to start. Okay. Okay, there's one. And you might think it's crazy, but it does the job. Don't get it on your fingers. Okay, same thing back here. Can't get at it. But we have it on the wrench. It's kind of permanently stuck to the wrench, semi-permanently stuck on the wrench. Turn as much as I can. And then we can turn it. We can finish that off later. Okay. One more. Okay, what we're running into is that the bearing is being a little tough. Frame actually expanded a little bit. We used to have a ratchet. Anybody seen that? It's way over there. You can grab it, Caleb. Clamp her down. Come on. I'll get there someday. We'll get that nut started. Take off the clamp. Tighten it up. There we are. Falling apart, so we need to get that put back on. This actually has its own. You want like that, yeah, because it's worn off. You can tell that. Always look for telltale wear signs so you know what you're dealing with. The finger's stuck in there. Right. That's where I need that 9/16. Okay, keeps it from walking off. Okay, so now we need to get the band holder on. And this particular one actually had a nut that was on there in the front part. And that goes all the way down to the neck. It helps space this thing. Okay, what I'm doing here is getting it set up, getting the system set up for operation, and I'm putting some bolts in the front here, and we're real close to having the right thing. When you put on power, it's going to cause a chain to stretch, so we got to be aware of that. Okay, chain and spinning at the same time. Put the engine back on. This is where putting the belt on is important. And this is the one thing that we need to understand, is that the belt is put on based on how the clutch is designed. This particular clutch has a flat spot on one side and a bevel on the other. So you look at the belt and you examine it. One side's got a bevel, one side's got a flat. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Put the bevel on one side and the flat on the other. Okay. That's as simple as bolting it up. Really isn't any
What size bolt?
adjustment, really. You just put the bolts on because this thing's already got holes in the it's an important concept. The washers go on the bottom to hold it together, because otherwise the nuts would just be driving into a track, which we don't want. So we put a nut